hand. I will point to you guys and let you guys answer your question. So just remember, you guys, if you don't want to say anything, you can also use the chat box to communicate. You can also message us if you have a question or anything that you need to know. Please keep yourself muted unless you have unless you want to ask something, then you can raise your hand and I can point to you, and then that way we can get ourselves started. Remember, we gotta be respectful to everyone. And just a reminder, we're just recording this so that we can put it on YouTube, and then that way if you guys forget anything, then you can go back to our video and you can rewatch and see everything that we're doing. So, without further ado, are you guys ready to do some Crafternoons?
Yes, and
Awesome!
could I go to the washroom first?
Of course, of course. Quickly go, go, go. And what we're going to do is while you're going, I'm going to show everyone what we will need. So we're going to swap over to our other camera. Awesome. So today's craft is going to be super easy. We're making this really funny looking puppet today. And if you put your fingers through the holes at the bottom, you get your legs. And then it kind of looks like your puppet is kind of walking. It's a little difficult to get a hang of. Sometimes you have to kind of like figure out which hand you want to do. But then you can have your little finger puppet and they can walk around and they can do something really fun. Now, the one that I did is kind of silly. I like to say that it kind of looks like a giraffe, cow, horse kind of thing. But you guys can make whatever you want. So, for today's craft, you are going to need a few things. You're going to need some paper. Now, I have with me some colored paper. I've got normal printer paper as well, but I also have some kind of thicker colored paper too. So you're going to need some paper. You're also going to need some markers or pencil crayons or anything that you want to color with. So I have a whole bunch of markers with me. You're going to need some scissors to cut. You're going to need a pencil to draw. And then if you have this, so if you don't have this, I'll show you how to do it with paper. But if you do have some yarn, I can show you how to add some yarn to make a tail and some hair. Now, if you don't have yarn or you don't have string, that's okay. I can show you how to use pieces of paper and then cut them out and glue them so that it looks like hair. So, let's get started. I'm going to push everything off to the side. And the first thing that we're going to need is a piece of paper. So I want you guys to choose whatever color you have. If you have white, you can use white as well. I think I'm going to use, I've decided I'm going to use pink because I want to make a unicorn. But you guys can make whatever creature you want. I'm going to show you how to do the base. So the base looks like this. And then you guys can turn it into what animal that you guys want. So you could make it a giraffe or a cow or a horse. It's all up to you guys. So to get started, we're going to start with a piece of paper. Now, let me double check if you guys can see my pencil. Okay, you might not be able to see my pencil, so I will use a marker instead so you guys can see. Now, can you see my marker if I go like that? Okay, perfect. So, the first shape that we are going to be starting with to make our puppet is we are going to be making this rectangular shape here. So, to do this rectangular shape, I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to start by drawing a line, a big line at the very top. Now, when you're drawing your rectangular shape, you want to make sure that it's big enough for you to put your hand in it, because we need to make sure that we can put some holes in for our fingers. So if you make your rectangle too small, you won't be able to put your fingers in. So make sure that you do a super big line that can fit your hand. I'm then going to take my marker and I'm going to draw 2 lines following my big line, just like this. And then I'm going to round it off and I'm going to turn it into one full shape. So if you guys know what a bar of soap looks like, That's kind of the shape that we're doing. So we're doing a big rectangle shape. So that is the very first shape that we're working on. And you can kind of refine it a bit with your pencil or your pencil crayon. Make sure that it looks just the way that you want it to look. Perfect. We got some purple paper going on. Awesome. So once you have your rectangle shape, the next shape that we need to work on is the shape of our head. So to do our head, I'll break it down nice and slow for everyone. So I'm going to start with this line first. So on your rectangle, I want you to guys to choose which way you want the head to be. Do you want the head to be on this side? Or do you want the head to be on this side? I'm going to make my head on this side, so I'm going to do it on the right side. So to do the head, I'm going to start by doing one short line. So I have one line like that. Then I'm going to take my other side, and I'm going to do a longer line. So the line on one side needs to be longer than the other line. So right now it kind of looks like a really funny rectangle, and then we have two lines coming off of the rectangle. And then this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. So, okay, you guys ready? We're going to go nice and slow. On the longer line, I'm going to curve it all the way around so that it looks like a foot. So if you guys see my picture, if I did it upside down, it kind of looks like I've drawn a foot and my rectangle is walking. So that's the kind of shape that I want you guys to draw. So we have our rectangle, and then we have our really funny looking foot shape right there. So super, super easy to do. And now comes the fun part. So this is our base, but we need to turn this into the animal that we want. So in my original one, I was doing a horse. And since I was doing a horse, I decided to give them ears. But if you're doing another animal, your animal might have a horn, or maybe it has a giant big ear, or maybe it has like some intricate detailing on the top. So I want you guys to think about what creature that you guys are going to be drawing. So I'm making a unicorn today. So my unicorn would need to have a unicorn horn, and it would need to have some ears. So I want you guys to think about what type of animal you're going to do and then add those details to your animal. So if you're doing a unicorn, you'll need to add a horn. If you're going to do a horse, you don't need to worry about the horn, but you might want to give them some ears. If you're doing, let's say you wanted to do a giraffe. If you were doing a giraffe, let's say you had a giraffe head, then you might want to add some giraffe kind of like antennae, and I can hold that up a bit more so you guys can see. Maybe you're doing a zebra or a zebra, and you want to add some ears like what a zebra would have. So there's all different ways that you guys can do it. Okay, so we have to do one more thing before we can start cutting them out and coloring them in. And that is we're going to need to give them some holes so that we can put our fingers in. So what I want you guys to do is on the bottom of our rectangle, we need to draw 4 circles, 1 for each of our fingers. And when you're drawing your circles, make sure that you make them nice and big so that you can put your finger in. So when I was drawing mine, I like to make sure that I could stick my finger in. So I'm making sure that I'm drawing an extra big circle. So look where your rectangle is and start drawing 4 big circles on the bottom of our rectangle. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is where we're going to put our fingers so they can be legs. So make sure when you're drawing, they have to be nice and big so you can put your finger inside. And you want to make sure that they go along the bottom of our puppet. Awesome, guys. It looks like everyone's slowly getting it. That's perfect. Okay, so now comes the fun part. We need to, oh, I love that you've added some wings. Oh, that's really smart. So if you wanted to add wings, you could also add wings. If you wanted yours to be like a Pegasus or an alicorn, you can do that as well. I think I might keep mine a unicorn, but I really do like those wings on yours. Wow, look at these guys. They look great. Okay, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. We're going to need to take our handy dandy scissors and we're going to have to cut out our shape. So the easiest way to do this is to cut the outside first. And then I'll show you guys how to cut out the circles. So I'm going to take my scissors here and I'm going to slowly start cutting out our shape. And remember to go nice and slow. If you need some help, you can also ask a parent or an older sibling to help you out too. And there's no need to rush. So I'm going to go super slow so that I get all of the detail in. So all I'm doing right now is I'm just going and doing the outside first. And then I'll show you guys the easiest way to cut out the holes for our fingers. So I'm just going super slow, taking my time, because you don't want to hurt yourself with the scissors, but also you want to make sure that your creature looks just right. So I'm going super slow. And then, once you have your creature cut out, you should have your shape just like this. And we have the start of
Look at my
puppet.
shape. Look at
Oh
me.
man, that looks awesome. You guys are doing so good at this. I can see everyone's working super hard. It's looking perfect. Okay, I'll show you guys how to cut out the circles, but I'm gonna go super slow so everyone can see, because this is gonna be a little bit tricky. So, in order to cut out the circles, the easiest way that I found to do this was I take my scissors, like this, and very carefully, I'm going to poke a hole through the middle first. So I poked a hole through the middle with my scissors, and then, taking my scissors, I'm going to cut in 4 different places. And I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you guys can see. So I go 1, then I cut this way, 2, I cut this way, and I cut this way. And if I take my scissors away, it's a little difficult to see, but there are 4 cuts in my paper. And that way, it makes a little bit easier for me to cut my circle out. Now, you don't have to do it this way if you guys have an easier way to cut your circle. I just find that it's a little bit easier when I make a few cuts inside my circle, because then I can take my scissors and go all the way around without the paper bunching up. So if you guys have an easier way to cut out your circle, then you guys can go right ahead and do that. But once you've cut it out, you need to test to make sure that you can put your finger through the hole. If your hole is too small, then you're going to have to take your scissors and cut that circle so that it can be a little bit bigger.
Look at this.
Awesome, there you go. You got 1 going. You're gonna need to do all 3 because we're gonna need 4 so that you can have 4 legs.
Yes, 4.
So I'm going to start with my next one right here. And just like what I did before, I'm going to push a little bit of a hole in the middle. And then I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm gonna cut 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to make a plus with my cuts, and then that way I can slowly start cutting around so that I have the 4th hole. And I'm just going super slow. This is going to take a little bit of time, so don't rush with this part, just because it's a little bit difficult cutting out some circles sometimes. So there we go. We've got circle number 2, and I'm going to check again. And yep, I can stick my fingers into circle number 2. And then now I got to cut out the last 2 circles. So all we're doing is just cutting out our 2 circles. So just like before, I'm going to put a little bit of a hole in with my scissors. I'm just going super slow, so don't push too hard. So going super slow. There we go. And then I'm going to cut my hole. If you guys have an easier way to cut out the hole, then you guys can also do it that way too. But all I'm doing is just cutting out the 4 holes, just like this. And you might need to go over them again just to clean them up a little bit, because cutting a circle is a really difficult thing to do. So good job to everyone who's cutting away. So there we go, I got my 3rd one. And then last but not least, I need to do my 4th one. Now, how are they looking so far? I see everyone's is working really hard. I love the purple one going on. Awesome. Okay, my last one right here. And then, once we've done that, so we get to do the best part. We get to start decorating our puppet. And decorating is one of my favorite things to do, because we get to add all different kinds of stuff. So, I'm going to slowly go and work at this one. Make it look just right. And voila! And if I flip it over like this so I don't have to see the lines, I now have my puppet, and they can now walk along the road if they want. They're going to gallop away. Although my puppet's looking very plain right now. This is a very interesting looking unicorn. Doesn't have eyes. It doesn't have anything on it. So you know what that means, guys. That means we get to decorate. So I'm going to start decorating with my markers first, and then I'm going to add some yarn. Oh, I see a hand up. Angeli, did you have a question? What was your question?
Yes, I do have a question.
Of course.
I was late, so what are we doing?
So we are making puppets. And while everyone is still cutting away, I'll quickly show you how to make our puppet shape. So to do our puppet shape, taking a piece of paper, I'm just going to use some scrap paper here to show you. You're going to take a marker, and you're going to draw out a rectangle shape, just like this. So I'll let you draw out your rectangle shape first. And while everyone else, if you're all done cutting, give me a thumbs up so I can see who's all done cutting. So how many of my friends are all done cutting? We got a few friends? Okay, awesome. So for my friends who are all done cutting, the next part is we get to decorate. So I'm going to take my markers and I'm going to start adding detail to my unicorn. So you can add a face, you could add eyes, you can add spots or feathers or any different type of detail that you want. Oh, and I see it's Samantha, right? Samantha? There we go. Yeah, I remember it because it's from Frozen 2 as well. Let's see yours. Oh, there we go. Whoa, look at that. That's looking awesome. Perfect.
No, I mean your picture.
Oh, those look great.
You can't see it in the camera that well. You had to cut off. Sorry, she just not used to
That's
that.
okay. It looks fantastic. I love the wings that you've added to it. Samantha, are you going to start adding different types of designs to it as well? You can draw anything you want on it. And for Angeli that has just joined in, so once you've done your rectangle, the next part that you're going to do is you're going to draw a shape that sort of looks like a foot. So if I hold my rectangle upside down, it kind of looks like my rectangle has a foot on it. So that's the sort of shape that you're going to be drawing. And for my friends that are ahead, I'm going to start adding some detail. So for my unicorn, I'm going to give them a face. So I'm going to draw a nose, and I'm going to draw a mouth, and then I'm going to give my unicorn a really pretty eye, because my unicorn needs to be able to see where they're going, or they're just going to go right into a wall. I'm also going to start adding details to my unicorn horn as well. So I'm going to add some lines to my horn, and maybe I'm going to add some detail to my ears too. So, and Jelly, once you have done your rectangle and foot, the last thing that you're going to need to do is draw 4 circles at the bottom. And that's where we're going to put our fingers. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And once you've drawn that, you can start cutting it out. And then I think you know exactly where we are now. So we've just cut ours out and we're coloring. So you guys can, everyone's working super hard. So you can add all of the detail you want. I know some people have been adding wings to theirs. I think I'm going to give my unicorn a really cool looking necklace instead, because I think that's just kind of fun and funky. So I'm going to draw a necklace on my unicorn. So the last thing that we need to add to make our puppet stand out, and I'm going to show it in 2 ways. I'm going to show it using some yarn, and I'll show it using some paper. So if you have yarn, what you can do is you can give your puppet some hair. And what I like to do is I take my yarn and I like to cut off small pieces, so not super long. So I have a small piece right here, and I'm going to cut a whole bunch of them. And I'm going to make sure they're the same length. So I'm taking my yarn and I'm just cutting a whole bunch of them. So I'm going to go nice and slow. And I'll make sure it's in the camera, so I got to hold it up. So if you have yarn at home, this is one way that you can do hair on your puppet. So if you have yarn, to add hair to your puppet, all you need to do is take your glue, and my glues might be a little bit stuck here, so forgive me while I have to try and unstick it a bit. There we go. And then all you have to do is just add a little bit of glue to the neck of your puppet, and then take your yarn and just stick it down wherever you want there to be hair. So I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to stick it down right there and slowly start adding hair to your puppet. Now, if you don't have yarn, you can also do this with some paper. So let's say I don't have yarn. I'm going to take this really fun looking green here. I've kind of almost made a watermelon looking unicorn. And what you can do is you can draw out some hair. So I could take my green and I can draw out some really cool looking hair. Maybe I'll do a hair shape just like this. And then you can cut out your hair and you can stick it onto your puppet any way that you want. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can add some string and have your puppet with long string hair, or you can take your paper and you can give your puppet some cool looking paper hair. Now, because I'm doing a unicorn, mine's going to have long hair. But if you're going to do a dragon or a zebra or a giraffe, you might have short hair. So if you're doing paper, all you would need to do is cut out your paper shape, put some glue on your puppet, and then stick down your hair. But because I'm going to be using yarn, instead of adding paper, all I'm doing is just adding small little pieces of yarn and sticking it down to my puppet. So I'm going nice and slow, sticking down my long yarn so that the hair will blow in the wind when my unicorn is riding through the sunset. So nice and slow. It's going to look like one crazy looking unicorn going on over here. Now all I'm using to stick down the yarn is just some school glue. But because I'm using school glue, that means it's going to take a little bit for it to dry. So make sure when you're gluing everything down, you press everything down nice and slow and make sure it sticks to the glue. And you might have to hold it for a little bit so that it doesn't unstick. Oh, we have a dinosaur! Oh, I love it. That's so creative. Awesome. Look at you guys go. We've got unicorns, we've got Pegasus, we have dinosaurs, we might have a dragon or two. You guys have come up with some really cool stuff. Oh my goodness.
Can I tell you something,
Sure.
Miss Emily? Definitely know that this is an alicorn.
An alicorn. That's right, you are correct.
Yes.
And it's an alicorn because it has a horn and wings, right?
Yes, and I know that from a show with so many ponies.
That's right. Do you know that because Twilight Sparkle is an alicorn?
Yes. Yes, I watched it. And yes, and have you watched that movie about when that evil creature comes?
I don't watch the shows.
I've seen some of the show before, so that's why I know all of their names.
Exactly.
Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to add to my puppet is I'm going to give them a tail because I think my unicorn needs a tail. So all I'm going to do for my tail is just like what I did with my mane over here. I'm going to take some string. I'm going to take a lot of string and I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the butt and then I'm going to stick it down. So super easy. And once you've done that, you've basically got a finished puppet. Now, if you're using glue, you might need to wait a tiny bit for your glue to dry before you can use your puppet. But if you're not using glue, then you can go right ahead and start using your puppet for anything that you guys want. Maybe you're going to make a movie with your puppet. Or maybe you're going to take your puppet on an adventure somewhere and take some pictures of your puppet going on an adventure. So what I'm doing to make my tail a little bit easier is I'm just tying the ends together, just so that it's one big clump of hair. Now, if that's a little too tricky, don't worry. You don't have to tie the end. I'm just doing that to make it a little bit easier for me. So all I'm doing is just tying the ends together so that I have a big clump of hair. And then last thing, I'm going to add that big dollop of glue right on the butt. Let's stick it right there. Hello, Mr. Unicorn. You are now going to have a very fancy butt. And then I'm going to press it down and I'm going to hold it right there so that it stays in place. And voila! We have a finished puppet. I'm going to show mine off really carefully so that it doesn't fall apart. But I can stick your fingers in just like this. Your puppet can have long hair. Maybe you want to braid it if you want it to be super fancy. And now you can have your puppet go on adventures. So maybe my unicorn is going to go on a special adventure somewhere and it's going to walk off and it'll be like, nay, or something like that. Or it's a little hard to do it with all 4 fingers, but you can kind of make them run too if you play around and figure it out. So before we head on out, does anyone want to show off what their puppet looks like so far? If you're not finished, that's okay. You can still show them off. All you got to do is just hold it up to the camera and then I can see them. So does anyone want to show off what creative drawings they've done or creatures they've done? I would love to see what you guys did. So I see Samantha did an awesome alicorn. Whoa, I see down there a super long braid going on. Is that going to be a braid for your horse? Oh my goodness, we got like a Rapunzel hair going on over there. Now that is one crazy looking animal with super long hair. Would anyone else like to show off their really cool puppet before we go? Let's see.
No.
Anyone else? No, not yet?
Not yet.
You can keep it a surprise? Aw, well that's okay. It looks like you guys are working super hard and that's really awesome. And I'm super glad to see how cool they turned out. I loved all of the different types of ideas and designs. Do we have a giraffe? Oh my goodness. You guys did amazing. I love how creative everyone's being. We have giraffes and dinosaurs as well. Oh my goodness, you guys are super creative. These look amazing, guys. You did a fantastic job. Well, unfortunately, I do have to head on out. Oh, I love the purple one too. Oh, that looks great. But you guys can keep working on your creations, and if you guys want to show them off, you can actually go to the, and I think it's the Town of Oakville website, and you can actually post your picture if you want to take a picture of your creation, and then I can see them. So if you want to show them off, you can take a picture and show them off too. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out. I hope that you guys had lots of fun. Oh, perfect. I see it right there. So if you look in the chat, we posted a link. Sorry, not a link. We posted a where you can go to send your picture. So if you want to show off your design, you can take a picture of it, send it to public.art@oakville.ca, and then we over here can see your creations. So remember to keep crafting, everyone. Please stay safe. And next week is going to be our very last Crafternoons. And we're going to be doing a really cool looking campfire. So if you guys like to go camping or pretend to roast marshmallows, then you can also look forward to that craft next week. Oh, and I see a hand down there. Yes, in our PJ Maxx shirt. I see in the red shirt. What's your question?
Are you open to come at the art place for my birthday?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see. Keep that in mind, and you might have to look online and see what's going on. But thank you guys so much for coming out. That looks awesome. Please stay safe, everyone, and I want you guys to have a great rest of the week. Can you guys promise me you'll have a great rest of the week? Awesome. Take care, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you for coming.
I'm turning 8 years old.
Awesome. Have fun, everyone. My unicorn says goodbye too. Take care, everyone.